you a little bit about the two of us and how we made our connection. All right. Donnie Don, what's going on? Oh, there she is.
Hi,
Hey,
Rhoda. Hi. Let me get
hey.
my volume up and stuff. Okay.
Okay, let me
Hi.
make sure mine up. Hey, girl,
Hi. I feel like I haven't seen you in 1,000 years.
hey. It has been, right? It
Hasn't it?
really has
It
been. But thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Look at your beautiful face, agreeing to come on here.
Look, the light
And
must be coming in just right. I'm gonna stay right here.
look, I know, right? I'm trying to find, I'm like,
No,
okay,
you
yes, yes,
looking
yes.
good, girl. I need to get a hat.
Yes. So, so Dawn, so guys, thank you for joining. Again, share this with your friends. Share this with your business girls who are in business and specifically that's in the product-based businesses, handmade product-based business. Share this with them because they're going to want to tune in and hear what this powerhouse entrepreneur has to tell you
And I'm
girls. We're
telling
going to drop, she's
all
going to
I'm
drop
spilling
some
all the tea,
gems.
Donna. I'm
She's
spilling all
spilling
the
the
tea.
tea with the lemon and a little bit of stevia,
There
all that. So
you go.
y'all bring on up on in here. And also in the comments, state where you're tuning in from and what business you're in. If you have a business, put that in the comments where you're tuning in from and what your business is. So share that, and share this. So just a little bit about how I met Dawn. So back in 2011, I was just starting my line of my brand of skincare and color cosmetics. And child, listen, I didn't have anybody to refer to or to talk to because no one around me, was a business person, in business, and especially not in the industry that I was in. So an old coworker of mine had some of Dawn's products, some Pooka products. And so I was like, oh, this is nice. And but me, I'm like, I'm about to find out who this person is because I need some help. And so me, I'm like, I'm the type of person, I don't overthink things. I'm like, the they can either say yes or they can say no. Either way, I'm going to ask. You know
Right.
what I mean? I'm going to ask. And so what I did was I went to a website. I did purchase some stuff now. So I did purchase,
I
but I
remember.
also went to a website and found her email and I emailed her, and I still have this email. I wish I would have been able to bring it up in here. I went the other day and found that email from November of 2011. I was like, hey, gave my spiel, explained what I was doing, and whatever tips or advice you can give me for this new journey, I would greatly appreciate it. And guess what, y'all? She responded. I was like, she responded, and she was so helpful. And then at the end, she was like, anything else that you need help with, I'm here. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't want to hit her up too much now. I was like, I ain't gonna hit her up too much, but just the fact that she was so genuine and that she responded, and there was no, you know, most people today, it's like, okay, you're gonna have to pay me something, for my knowledge. I'm not just gonna give you information. But that wasn't Dawn. She responded and, hey, anything that you need. And so that's how we made our virtual connection.
Yeah.
And so, Dawn, I gave my spiel on how we met. So I want you to tell the people a little bit about yourself
Okay.
before I go into the questions.
Okay. All right. Well, as you all know, my name is Dawn Fitch. My company is Pooka Pure and Simple. On here, I'm at Pooka. I think I'm on the Pooka today. I don't know if I'm on No, I'm on the Pooka, not my personal. So we're a handmade bath and body company, and the company is 22 years old. I be telling
Wow.
people I started when I was like 10. They're like, girl, stop it. No, you did not. Yeah, it's been 22 years. God has graced
Wow.
us with a lot of,
Yes.
and I
Wow,
started the
Dawn.
company 22. Every time I say it, I want to
22.
cry and at the same time, like, what? But it's been a blessing. I started, like, I went to school for graphic design. Like, that was my degree. And I worked in the music industry. So I enjoyed my little job. On the way to work one day, I went numb from the waist down and just walking through the city of Manhattan. So they called the ambulance, and that started a 5-year journey of trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me. You know, I was just sick all the time. So the doctors kept sending me home. You're healthy, go home. I'm like, all right, but I don't feel good. So they're telling you to go home, you don't feel good. You have to take that into your own hands.
Right.
So there was a lot of prayer, but there was a lot of reading. So I read about foods and, you know, my diet. I was like, all right, I'm going to clean the whole inside out so that I start to feel better. And I said, I'm not going to clean the inside. I read a great article about how what you put on your skin goes in your system. So I was like, all right, whatever I put on my skin, I want to make sure I'm putting in good things that are going into my body. You know, I gave up a lot of things like white flour, white sugar, pork. My father always like, it's not the pork. It's not. All right, Dad. Okay, well, I'm just going to take it out anyway. But, you know, so, you know, I just made a big health change. And then I started really getting into aromatherapy. And it really started to make me feel better, like the lavenders and the rosemaries. And just reading more about it, like the less toxicity I could put in my body, the better. So really, I say I sort of stumbled into business because I really did not have a plan to do this, but just out of a need to feel better. I was like, all right, I got to make healthier products. So opened up the cabinets and just started very simple things. And when I tell you, it's been a long journey, but you know, we started in my apartment. Now we have a warehouse in Kearney. We're sold in Whole Foods. We've been on the cover of Black Enterprise. We've been in Essence. God has been truly good. I got stories about the 22-year journey.
Okay, so hold on now. Hold on. Let me get to my questions because you already touched on some of them. So you said that, you know, you kind of stumbled into doing this, but what about you wanting to be an entrepreneur? Is that something you always wanted to do?
I think so. Like my family, we were always entrepreneurs. Like we had a family business called HH&D. That was Helen Howard, Donna, Dawn, and Douglas. That was the kids. And we had a t-shirt business, a mug business. My sister and I had Shower of Flowers. So we always had, like when we did a floral design. So in my family, we always had some kind of business going on.
Okay.
So entrepreneurship wasn't new to me. It's just that, you know, I was happy in my little job. I was working at Sony Music. I was meeting little people. I enjoyed my little life. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so I probably would have gotten to starting a business at an adult age, but that just catapulted me quicker. Because when you have a why, when you have a reason, a lot of businesses are built out of a need, something that you have, something that you love, or, you know, and that helps you to start it. So me being sick, I was like, all right, I got to make some products for me, and then, you know, catapulted into the business.
Okay, so because I'm kind of all over the place. So going back to you starting Pooka. So you said let's talk about that name. That's one of the things so how did you come up with, where did the name Pooka come from?
My mom, when we were little, myself, my brother and sister, she called us her Pookalitas. Oh. We are not of Spanish origin. I don't even know if Pookalita is a Spanish word, but we don't know what it means. But when we were little, she'd be like, okay, Pookalita. And you know, your mother give you a little name, you know, you start to feel better. And that's just what she always called us. Oh. So when I started making stuff in my apartment, you know, I was just making stuff, and the graphic artist in me is like, make it neat, put a little label on it, even if it was for me. And my printer, I could not fit Pookalita on this little label. So I just cut it in half. So people are like, what does it mean? I'm like, it's half of what my mother loved us with, but it's all her full love. So, and like, that's what most names are. There's something that are personal to you. So every time I think of Pookalita, that's mommy, and that's love, and that's just makes me feel good. And I hope that's what people get out of it as well.
Okay. So I'm trying to stick with my questions. So, so what's the one thing in business that you didn't expect?
Well, you should ask what's the one thing I did expect to be successful overnight. But what didn't I expect? I didn't expect, one, how long it would take. I didn't expect that payroll taxes were going to hurt my feelings as much as they do. I guess
those
because
pesky taxes.
Yeah, I think it's the perseverance part. I think, especially social media, it makes us see everybody's wins. Right. So you think you're going to get in and you're going to win right away. And I don't want this to be a downer conversation because there are wins, but they take time, you know. And a lot of people want to go, you know, if you plant a seed, you don't have the flower the next day. You know what I mean? But people plant the seed and they show you the flower. They don't show you the watering, the trimming, when the dying, you got to put. So I think I didn't realize the time. I thought if I did the work and and a snap of a finger, I would be there. And like that's what I want to caution everybody about social media. You will get there, but just remember, you're not seeing everybody's between time.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing. And that sometimes, entrepreneurship gets lonely. It's a long span of time. You lonely, and you have to find things that help you not give up. It's not everybody thinks it's just like yes, and you are supposed to be like ah.
Right.
There's a lot of times that it can be lonely. So that's why you have to have your entrepreneur circle, your people.
Yes.
And for me, I always feel like I'm a woman of faith. God has just been so good that I'm very forthcoming with help and information. You ask me, I'm going to help. I don't want anything from you because He's blessed me, and people I ask have helped me. If you do that, then we all win. There's enough in this business for everybody. There's
exactly
enough. People like they think it's oversaturated. There's more than enough.
Right. And that's something that I kind of touched about last week live with some ladies. Like, we just have this scarcity mindset, like, oh no, I'm not going to share this with this. So going into my next question, what's been the biggest challenge you faced in hold on, let me go back. What's the most common myth about starting a handmade product business?
That you're going to put up a website and people will just come. There's a lot of grassroots you have to do especially for products. People can't smell it. Can't test it or try it. If you see a shoe or an earring or something like that, I like that, I can buy it. With handmade products like that, people have to test it and try it. So we did a lot of vending. We had to get out there, whether it's you or a team, we had to get out there, put it on people. We had to share it. We have to give out samples. We try not to give out a whole bunch of samples now, 22 years later. But I mean, you have to do that. So with the handmade and with things like that for skin or body, people like to test and try it. So you have to find a way to put yourself in front of people, which is usually large events. We did a lot of Black Expos, Circle of Sisters, those things. And then you build your mailing list. Because if you do those things and you don't get a mailing list, it's almost a waste of time. You have to get a mailing list so that you keep those people and you can keep in contact with them. I think to me, that would be one of the biggest things.
Okay. And so what's been the biggest challenge that you face in business? What's the biggest challenge you facing right now in business, and how did you tackle it, or how do you tackle it?
It's always, to me, it's always money is a part of it. Financing, cash flow, but also staffing. How you find, because I'm telling you, are only as strong as your team.
Right.
And Danita's on here. Trinity scribes. Look at her. I didn't call Danita to tell her. She came right on. She started scribing. Trinity, like, you have to build your team. Build people that are going to be there for you, that you can trust, that you can show how to run your business, so that if you're not there, they can help you. So building a team, finding and also figuring out how to build your structure. You got to get, there's a lot of help out there. Go to the SBA, go to SCORE, get the help to build the structure right, and you'll be able to scale a lot better. So I think those are things that, because I went into it so fast, I had to do a lot of backtracking because I didn't do things right at the beginning, And you can get it right, but it's easier to just start off right. If you can't afford an accountant, get some QuickBooks, get some sort of help for everything. Don't just start out all willy-nilly, because it's going to be harder when you get that first interview or something like that. It's going to be harder to put all this stuff back together. Right.
So let me get a little more depth. So when you started Pooka Lita, what was your first product, and how many tries or how many trial and error did it take for you to get it right?
The first product we made, which we don't even make anymore, was elbow grease. And I made
elbow grease.
Yes, elbow grease, because as African American women, people, we use a lot of Vaseline. Right. And I read about petroleum, that your skin can't absorb it. It's just not good for us. There's no nutritional value for your skin. So I set out to make, and this, like I said, because I was sick, I knew I was using my Vaseline. I was trying to make an alternative just for me. So through coconut oil and a whole bunch of trials, I came up with a coconut natural version of petroleum jelly. So people felt like, okay, I can use this instead. It was healthy. It was good for you. It took me about, and see, because at that point it wasn't a business, I was really just trying to get it right for myself. Right. So I would use it like, I don't like that, add this. So I'd say probably about 2 months until I like, ooh, this is my perfect recipe now. But I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. just trying to figure out what it, the consistency, what I wanted it to feel like, researching where to get all the ingredients. I mean, I stayed on the internet and reading books like that. And just investigating what type of benefits the ingredients that I put in are going to give me. And then I'm a girly girl. I like stuff to smell good. So then I started throwing in little scents of like, okay. And that was a really, really big product for us. And we sold that for years. And then as we introduced the Shea Body Butter, sales that declined. And as a business person, and it was okay because the Shea Butter picked up. But as a business person, like every product became like my children. Like, I can't cut guava butter. My mother's like, girl, cut that thing and keep it moving. I love it. I had a story for everything. When I fell down the steps, I put that peppermint on my back. She was like, okay, well, look at your numbers. I was like, yeah, that's true. That's got to go.
So, Dawn, for those who don't know you and that's coming in, you said you started Pooka because of a health illness that you were having. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Sure. Like I said, it was about 6 years of just tingly feet and vertigo and just all kind of stuff. And I started the business before I even knew what it was, and just trying to feel better. And then in 2007, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So, it's been good. I could still walk and talk. I have my challenges. I have my days, like these rainy days. I'm like, once we hang up, I'm be like, I'm going right to sleep. But I try to keep a holistic, attitude. Prayer, meditation, massage, all those type of therapies. The way I eat, food and diet. I go in and out of vegan, vegetarian lifestyle because sometimes, look, I need a little piece of cheese or something like that. But basically, just trying to keep it really healthy. And I built a community around it called the Best Life Tribe on Facebook. I'm having a really bad MS day. This is another thing as a business. You want to build a community around your business, but not exactly your business. Like, I wasn't going to build the Pooka community for bath and body products because nobody wants to be in that. Your community is going to be comprised of people who are like-minded, people who have the same values, who think about things the way you think about things. So I built a community more around health and wellness. Went into the Facebook, created this Best Life Tribe, and I grabbed 10 friends, and I was like, look, I'm having a bad MS day. We're going to go here. We're just going to, and I knew other women were suffering with autoimmunes and things like that. So I started that group in 2019, maybe, and now it's up to 6,000 women.
Oh, wow.
6,000 women.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
And they support me, they support my business, but it really is focused on just wellness, just how we can be well together.
So I need to join that group because I actually had been diagnosed. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune some years ago and recently diagnosed with another one just last year.
Okay.
So I definitely, want to be a part of people who understand that. And so, but you said that you had started making the products before your illness.
Well, I got sick. It took them 5 years to get a diagnosis.
Wow.
I went to a million doctors and they were saying chronic fatigue, it's Epstein-Barr, it's fibromyalgia, and everything they would give me, it's hypoglycemia. I would change my diet thinking that, then there'd be something like, that's not it. That's not it. So I finally went to one day I was sitting in my parents' house and my feet were totally numb. My father's like, we're going to the ER. Wow. That's not normal.
Yeah.
So this ER doctor was, I think, the only doctor who ever said, like, what do you think is wrong with you? And I said, well, either it's diabetes, and I knew I had been tested for diabetes, or I've read about MS. And he said, all right. He said, we'll test you for MS. So I had an MRI and I had a spinal tap, and it showed spinal fluid, and there was some scarring on the brain. So that's when I had my official diagnosis in 2007. And the good thing was I had already been changing my life before that. I didn't know what I was changing it for or what the diagnosis was, but then I just kept on that path of, okay, well, you already started eating different. The silver lining to MS is I got to start an amazing business and meet wonderful people. So I just try to keep a positive attitude, and everybody, just like you said, everybody just is going through something. So I think a lot of, especially autoimmunes, a lot of dietary changes. And I'm not saying you're going to, everybody doesn't have to change their own life, but you'll know your triggers and things that are good for you. I think diet, mental work, self-care, little exercise, I think it's going to help everything.
Yeah. So we have a quick question, and I'll go back to my question. So Light Skin Lou asks, how are you able to stay successful or be successful in such a competitive market?
Because I built my list and I have my following. You know what I mean? Like when we came to the pandemic and they closed down New Jersey and everything, I didn't know what to do. I had a staff. I was like, all right, everybody go home. I shut down the website. I went into that Best Life tribe that I built. I just started serving. I didn't know what to do. So like, what do you guys need? It's a health and wellness, da 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 da. And I love sea moss. So I started taking sea moss. I would always talk about sea moss. And they were like, all right, well, do you sell sea moss? And I was like, no. I said, but if I said, send me an email. If you want, I'll send you a little kit. I got like 64 emails that night.
Wow.
And I was like, so the Pooka website opened back up. I put sea moss on it. I developed a sea moss facial bar and some other things. And so my community saved my business during the pandemic.
Wow.
So,
you know what? I just want to ask you about that because I would have thought that your business would have been thriving during this time because a lot of people were home, so they were shopping and people like, the shades and things.
Oh, it
so
was.
I thought that you would have,
we did well, but just not at the beginning. That first month, I didn't know what to do. Like, cause they were like, you're closed. And so we make the product at the warehouse. So I send everybody home and I shut the website. Like, I just didn't know what to do. So for that first week, I just stayed home. Everybody was like, girl, you better open that business back up. But I still was like, well, I can't have the staff in here. And then when the tribe came through, when they started ordering, I was like, look, staff, we're going to have to take their turns going in. And that's, but we did well during the pandemic. But to answer her question, I was just saying, you have to build your community. And that is that email list, that is gold.
Yeah.
You can have 80 million followers on social, but they have to come to Instagram to see you. If you have their email addresses, you put something right in their email every day. And that's the difference. If I have a sale, I'm sending out, like, I think our email list now is, I don't know, close to 20,000 people. Those are my people. Do they all order? No. But I mean, I can send it right out to them as opposed to hoping they come to social media.
Right.
So please build a list, capture those emails. That is your goal.
Right. And so, I mean, even if you don't have a website, you can have a standalone emails where you can capture those emails. Hey, and so I think that's still something that a lot of small businesses sleep on. Getting those emails. They still want to rely heavily on social media in order to to sell. And the thing is, we've seen how, especially here on IG, that thing was shut down in a minute. And you like, or you getting blocked or you getting banned. I just saw the Maya, I think it's Maya, that from the Glamaholic, she had, right at the top of Black Friday, she got shut down. Like, her site was like down. But I'm sure she's built a good email list over the years. But that was still a part of her marketing strategy using, social media. And she was blocked for like 3 weeks.
They own your people. You don't own that. You got but you would be surprised. You said, I'm sure she has an email. A lot of times, if you start out heavy on social, you just think to build that list. You're like, this is where they come. So I'm telling you, just like you said, if Instagram, if Facebook, I had there was another girl that she had over 250,000 people in her Facebook, in a Facebook group, and she sold out of there. And Facebook shut down her page.
Oh, wow.
Her people were gone. And she did all these posts about how she didn't have an email list. So how do you get in touch with those people? They're gone. So then your business is gone. You have to start from scratch.
Wow. Okay, so let me get back to my question. Then I'm going to ask you about transitioning. So when you started your business, were you still working full time, and did you transition? How was that transition?
No, and I give that to people who are actually who leave a business. I mean, leave a job to go to their business. I give them all the credit. I was in the music industry. I left there to go to, where did I go? American Express, designing credit cards. Boring, but it paid well. I was following the dollar, and had massive layoffs. So I was laid off. So at the time when I was really like, I'm going to start this business, or should I start this business? I was already out of work, laid off. Now, because I'm a graphic artist, I was able to pick up freelance work, but I was not working. So I think my challenge came when I was offered another job. I'm like, all right, are you gonna stay with Pooka and try to ride this out, or are you gonna take this job? and I chose to, I chose to ride it out, and thank goodness that I
Yeah.
did. But I did have jobs. I mean, I waited tables.
Mm-hmm.
I was a hostess. Like, I did stuff in the interim. Business isn't always plentiful and,
Right.
everything at the beginning. You have to supplement your income. And
Mm-hmm.
I decided to, I mean, it was a good supplement because I worked for a man. He became a mentor. He owned a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
and waited tables.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over there thinking, like, asking people, you want beef or pork? I'm like, oh, I don't even eat beef or pork. I was just so, and nothing's wrong with waiting tables. I don't want to say that. But
Right.
I had thought, like, I was working in the music industry, and now I'm here waiting tables. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I told this man. He would ask me every day about my business. I would tell him all the stuff about my business,
Mm-hmm.
and he became a mentor. I would run things by him, and I waited tables part time for him for like 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
he opened up a beautiful catering space in Montclair. And he was like, you know what? I've been watching you with your business. He said, I'm opening this space. I'm only going to use it at night. He said, if you want to use it as a store during the day, you can have it.
Oh, wow.
When I say he was charging me no rent, and most months he forgot to ask me for it. So
Wow.
sometimes you got to put your pride to the side. My
Right.
little rib job opened up my first retail store. So you never know how it's going to come to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Dawn, so you said that you started with the elbow grease. That was your first product. So what was your scale process? Like like when did you decided, okay, to add more products, to make more products? And were you the only one making these products, or did you have, a team of people helping you to make these products?
At the beginning, it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went through, now back then, this is 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when I even thought about manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
these were natural products, and I needed small batches because they expired.
Right.
So most manufacturers wanted you to do large. I can't do 20,000 pieces of
Mm-hmm.
each fragrance or thing like that. One, I don't have the demand for that. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the money for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not get rid of all of that product in
Mm-hmm.
time. I would have just so much spoilage.
Right.
So I had to make everything myself. Now I had every family member. If you knew me and you ever said, "Hey, Dawn," you were making something at some point. Everybody was up in that warehouse. Everybody was stirring and moving. And I started, like I said, I started with the elbow grease,
Uh-huh.
and we did a lot of grassroots. We did, like I said, a lot of festivals. And when we go out, people are like, "You don't have a moisturizer. You don't have a." So I would just keep track of what are they asking for.
Right.
What are they? Because even then we had a website, but this is 22 years ago.
Right.
Nobody was hitting that website,
Right.
at all. I thought I was going to put that up and zing. Now you
Mm-hmm.
can do that more.
Mm-hmm.
So I started creating more products by what people were demanding, what they would
Yeah, so I was going to say, so you listened to the market. It wasn't
listen to
that
the
you just
market.
decided, oh, I'm going to make this body
Yep.
butter, or I'm going to make this. So
Yep.
you listened to what the market,
Yep.
what your market was asking for, and then you produce.
And do
That's
your
good.
do
That's
your
good.
research. I went to places that were relevant to me. I would go walk through the Body Shop, Bath and Body Works. What are they selling? They're
Mm-hmm.
huge companies. They've done the market research. I'm not gonna.
Right.
If they say this is vanilla season, Puka's gonna have some vanilla
Right.
too. So you gotta, find what the big people, what the big companies are doing, because they put the money into the research,
Right.
and you can use that for your business. Like even now, everybody's starting to talk about CMOS. Like I'm starting to see it in, like, the L'Oreal's, and oh, now this CMOS.
Really?
Yes, yes. So I was like,
Wow.
really, L'Oreal? And at first I was mad. What am I gonna do? I'm fighting L'Oreal. I don't own CMOS, but I'm gonna benefit from it because I see now my customers ask more for the things that L'Oreal is spending millions of dollars advertising. So yes, yes, they're gonna tell you about CMOS, but you could get it from me. So
Right.
use those bigger companies and find out the trends, and use all the money, the marketing money they spend, use that to your benefit for your company.
Mm-hmm. So how were you able to fund your business at the start?
It was very bootstrap. I mean, I had a very small savings.
Mm-hmm.
When I say small, like a hamburger, French fries type of small. So I wasn't really doing that much. So it was really, I would buy products, make them, sell it. It was a tough way to do it. Every sale we had, every time we went to an event, use that money to buy more. It was a rough cycle to do that, but I didn't have any investors, and I didn't have a lot of savings to put in. So it can be done that way. It's a slower way to do it, but it can be done that way. And then finally I went to Bank America and I got my first small line of credit. And that's where I was able to actually buy more product, have more time before I had to pay it back, so that I could pull some profit out.
Mm-hmm.
After we did an event, I didn't have to rush back out and just use all that money for supplies.
Right.
So the line of credit was what helped. Now there are a lot of like payroll loans you can get, like Square, PayPal.
Yeah.
They're hard loans because they're easier to get and they will give you the money right away, but the repayment is harsh. Like it's like 25% or 20% or 10% of every sale you get. So they're
Oh,
taking their
wow.
money out. And so people are like, well, so what? I don't care. I'm like, yeah, but if you have a good month, so say you sell $20,000 in 1 month, you know, and you have a 10% repayment on your PayPal, PayPal is getting $2,000 that month, you know, so,
Wow.
or
Yeah.
4,000. Look, let me do my math. 4,000, 20%. You know what I mean?
Hey,
So
CEO, first lady. Hey, lady. You up next. I want you next week, lady. So, Dawn. So again, so I know that you've been in like Whole Foods
yeah.
and places like that. Tell us about that. Like, how were you able to get onto these retail shelves? And so, what was your experience in doing that? And what would you say to those who are trying to get their products onto retail shelves?
This is a funny thing because one, I'm gonna say everybody's story is their own. The way
Yeah.
I did it is never gonna be the way somebody else did it. And people have asked me like, what's the exact thing? I mean, I can tell you my story, but it won't happen the same. I can say the thread is always just like I did with the rib shop. Put your pride to the side. So I told you I used to work at Sony, and
Right.
maybe like a year into business, they were like, "Why don't you come back and show us what you're making?" And I was like, I don't know if I want to go back and show them I'm making oils and stuff. You know, I
Right.
was being prideful. I don't know why. And I was like, then I was like, you know what, girl, you need some rent money. Maybe they're gonna buy some. So I packed up my little stuff and I trekked over to the city and they put me in the conference room and I put everything out there. And you know, they were all my friends. They made purchases, so it was great. But the girl who they hired after me said, you know what, I have a great friend that works at Whole Foods. Let me connect you with him. And from that connection, now we're in 64 Whole Foods stores.
Wow.
But the moral of the story, yes, the moral of the story is you're the mouth of your business. You don't know what saying yes to invitations, what that will open up. You know, I don't know who I'm going to meet from this live.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to show
Yeah.
up. You got to show up because you don't know how it's going to happen. Now, the second part to that is once I always tell that story and I do the social media thing. I say, oh, I went to this meeting and now we're in Whole Foods. So this is what I show you. I didn't show you the curve where we had to get a $2 million liability policy.
Wow.
We had to have our labels redone, you know, so that they could, you know, they had to pass their labels for this. Like, so there's a lot of stuff in the middle that you have to do. And I try to remember not to do the Facebook thing and be like, it was this and this. So there was.
Give us the deets. We want the deets. We want the
There's
tea,
a lot you have to do.
the stevia, the lemon juice.
Exactly. Yeah, there is a middle part like this, but you can do the work. If you want this bad enough, you'll do the work. I wanted Whole Foods, and it was an amazing opportunity. So I changed those labels. I joined some trade groups where I could get really good insurance for the policy. I met with the people. We went over the labels, the ingredients usage. I had to get PC codes. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But when you have an opportunity, you will figure out how to get there.
Right.
You'll figure out how to.
So you speaking of labels. So my business is in branding, and so that's one of the services that we provide. So would you suggest that people nail that down early so that, you know, once their opportunity come, if they want to get into retail, that they don't have to try to scramble to do that things, but you suggest to do proper branding at the start?
Oh, most definitely. You don't want to have to, especially if you get into, you know, a big box store. You're not going to then say, oh, you know, we're in Target or Whole Foods. Let me get these labels right. You got to get that right before you're going to get in there. And as far as like UPC codes and things like that, I don't think that's necessary unless you're going into a big box store, because you have to join the UPC council. You got to pay that every year. So it's an expense. And if you're going somewhere where you're doing the universal barcode swiping, you don't need it. But if you're thinking of going into that, then you may want to at least put a placeholder on your label for a barcode, or start thinking barcodes if that's where you want to go. But as far as branding, I mean, as you would know, you want to get that tight, because you don't want to have any kind of change once you're already on the shelf. Because then you got to spend a whole bunch of money telling people how we used to be this, now we're this, we're the same company, everything's the same. No, get it right before you go in there.
Right. So Dawn, with the market, the industry you and the home, how do I say that? Because I feel like I'm labeling it wrong. Is it called homemade or handmade? What is it?
Handmade. They say personal care, small batch. I think it's but anybody really, it's up to you. I don't think there's an official name. I still say handmade. But some people like that because they feel like people want to know that it's handmade. Some people feel like it makes them feel like a tiny little business, like a mom and pop, which I don't think either is wrong. So I think it's your personal preference.
So how many, starting out, like I said, I know some people, once they start out, they want to have this product and that product. How many would you recommend that people, products, lines that you recommend that people who do this handmade business start out with?
Look at my
Or
hands.
do you have any recommendations?
Look at my hands. Look at this. I
Bring it in,
The
huh?
mistake I made was having too many SKUs, too many fragrances. Because every time somebody says, you don't have banana walnut, I'll have it tomorrow. And you know what? That's fragrance, that's essentials, that's bottles, that's labels. Like to produce a product to only sell 2 or 3, you start losing money. So I know you want to offer a million things, pare it down. Like I'm actually in the process of paring down, and it's hard. But you have to start working by your numbers. And I think as entrepreneurs, we work by one. Our number one is we need money right now. We have to pay bills. So when somebody asks you for something, I used to say yes to everything. Yes, I can make couch cleaning products. Yes, I can do that. I'm like, no, you got to learn to say no and get in your lane.
Right.
So start small. And if you have like I see some of the younger businesses and they have like a small little collection, 5 or 6 things. I am so envious of that. Like that's, like I said, that's less product, that's less labeling, that's less ingredients. You've got to get to the bottom line of your number. I would rather sell 10,000 of 3 things than 3 of 10,000 things because you're wasting your resources.
Right.
So go by your top sellers. At the end of every year, I go to the things that are on the bottom and be like, bye. You gotta go because you will start losing money when you have too much. And then you let your audience build the next thing. You could do it as a contest. What do you guys think should be the next scent? You can, like for Christmas, I'm doing 3 scents that are new. Vanilla, black walnut, and sugar berry. See how I threw that in there? I'm doing those 3, but I'm not keeping all 3 of those. So then at the end of the year, I'll say, hey, I'll look at my numbers, and I'll also ask, our followers, which one do you guys want to keep? I'm only keeping 1. So definitely start small and build out.
Yeah. So you said about your numbers. That's the other thing too. We don't look. Small business, we don't look at our numbers and look at our analytics. We just pretty much operating just off of, I don't know, but we aren't looking at the data to drive where we need to go and what direction we need to go in. So what do you say about that?
You can't survive like that. And I survived like that I'm saying I survived like that, but you're just surviving at that point. And you don't want to survive. You want to be making smart choices. I had a mentor, and he had a great product. And he was like, I really want to sell this product and I want to get it into Whole Foods. I said, okay, great. How much does it cost to make? And he was, I'm not really sure. So wasn't sure at all. So by the time we did everything, he was selling this product for $11.
Wow.
Okay? $11 he was selling it for. He wanted to get into Whole Foods. All wholesale is 50%. So of your retail. So he was going to sell this to Whole Foods for $5.50. And he started, he started selling it wholesale, not to Whole Foods, but he started trying to wholesale. Now, when we looked at his cost, it cost him $9 to make it, which means every time he sold wholesale, he was losing $3.50. Like if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know how much it costs, you can't even put a retail price on it. You're just guessing. I'm gonna say $10, but it might be costing you $7 to make. And then sometimes when you're doing it handmade, you're not capturing loss. You're not putting in labor. So the cost you think might actually be a lot higher. So you have to work by your numbers. The number one thing, you have to know your cost. How much does this cost me to make? Right. And then you have to know to double it for your retail and quadruple it so that you could drop it down wholesale. So knowing how much it costs will help you decide how much to cost something at. But you got to know that part. And then you have to know how much you're selling. How many of these units am I selling a month? Versus my cost, my rent, or my labor, or raw supplies, whatever. It doesn't have to be hard, but you have to do it. You have to do it.
So the good thing, one of the things that I love about you is that you still keep everything in-house. Even after 20 years, you still keep everything in-house. So how have you been able to do that after all of these years?
Like we said, building a good team and having your good, like, standard operating procedures. We know exactly how that butter is made, so that it's made the same way. Even if so-and-so comes in and make it, there's a recipe, you know, operating procedures, use this spoon, melted 2 minutes. So you got to have all your procedures and things like that. And you got to have good people. I mean, I have thought of going to manufacturing, and there are times when I'm like, I'm ready. And I may eventually do that.
Yeah.
But manufacturing now is different. Like, the manufacturers understand natural products. So you don't have to put those chemicals that you used to put preservatives in there. You don't have to do the large runs. So now you can do a run of 500 or 250 so that's another thing. If you're starting out, decide where you want to go. Do you want to be a manufacturer, or do you want to actually just send this out to be manufactured? There's pros and cons to both sides, but you can decide. Whereas back in the day, we didn't really have any choice but to make it ourselves because we couldn't afford the other way. Right. But businesses that have been in it for a while, like me, now we're so stuck in this, it's hard to pivot and say, okay, we're going to, because now we're just like old people doing the same thing. Like, no, we're just going to make it. So I do have to reevaluate that too. And if you're new coming out, that can be an option. You don't have to keep it in your house. You don't have to keep making it out of a small warehouse. Because imagine this, if you have your product produced for you, you don't have to have labor. Right. You don't have to, they can produce it and ship it. You don't even have to you don't have to have an office. Right. You can have a cute little Instagram office or area in your bedroom and somebody's shipping and making your products, for you. Right. So it's just whatever way you want to do, but you have a lot more options now.
So you said that you're in 64 Whole Foods stores. And so are you in any other stores, or is Whole Foods it for you?
Right now, Whole Foods is our only big market. I mean, we're in some other places like big shop, like the Village Market in Atlanta, different places in other, like North Carolina, DC, 1 or 2 stores. But mainly Whole Foods is our biggest in our e-commerce. I mean, we make the most off of our own e-commerce. So because Whole Foods is, as much as it's like sexy to say, and I don't even know if it's sexy to say, but just being in a big, it gives us more, but it gives us more credibility. People are like, oh, you're at Whole Foods. But I mean, it's hard to be in that store. They take 50%, you got to pay shipping, you got to take all returns, you got to give them free testers. Like, it adds up that you have to really know your margins, because you could lose money on that too. So I mean, is that something do you plan to continue with? I mean, is it beneficial? Is that something that you're going to reevaluate down the road? No, I think we'll keep it, because we now know our break-even point. We know, like, all right, at this point, we are making a little money off of Whole Foods. And the fact that the places where we're in Whole Foods stores, we see an increase of online orders, because they only sell the hair products in there. So people will go, they'll get the hair products, they'll go to turn it over, they go to the website and they order other things. So like, we're in stores in Louisiana, Texas. So we'll see more concentrated e-commerce orders from those places, because we know those people are getting it from Whole Foods. So Whole Foods is doing some good marketing for us there.
So you mentioned that when you first started, like, you couldn't even get anyone to the website, and I dealt with that too. Like, it was hard. Like, the only way I made some coins was I had to do these pop-up events and things like that. So is that something that you would recommend to people even today getting started, that they get out there in the trenches to sell their product and to make a community for themselves?
Most definitely. Because you have to build that list. Now, if you come in on the opposite way and you built a big following on Instagram, then your goal is, you may not have to go out as much. You got to get those Instagrammers onto your list. So whether that's ads, whether that's contests, whether that's landing pages, you have to figure out a way to get them off of social, because in that instance, you may have 50,000 people sitting right there. You just got to get them to that list. If you don't have any following on social media, you got to go out. You can build some social media, but you also got to go out. And the easiest way is going to be to do an event, because you can meet 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 people at a time, and put something in their hand. And then you also, like I said, getting people, you got to do little tactics. Like, when I send out my boxes, I spray the boxes. So we get so many emails like, what did you spray the box with?
Oh, wow.
So now we make up cards, so that we have cards, and whatever your box is sprayed with, you get a card and a discount for that scent. And with Shopify, you can see who's using the discount. We have gotten so many orders or reorders using that discount. So so you're marketing your box. You know what I mean? That's something, you got to market every little thing you can do. And if somebody has placed an order, you want them to get that box and say, I'm ordering this again. So they get a card, they get a sticker, they get an invitation to dinner at my mother's house. They get whatever I can put in that box, I'm giving so that they order again. So you just have to use everything for marketing.
Right. And so one of the things you said that you market yourself, you built a community. And so it was up. So you pretty much created a personal brand, which for yourself, which is what, I mean, what do you think about that too? Do you think that that's really important in today's business, like creating a personal brand for yourself in the community before you try to sell them products? What is your take on
I think
that?
it can go together, but I think you, and I guess it also depends on your goals, but you figure you're becoming the CEO of your business. You are a brand. Eventually people, like you said, people are going to maybe ask you for advice or ask you this, or there may be other things that you want to do. So like I said, I always think we should separate ourselves, because now we are business women. We do have a lot of knowledge under our belt. So we are a separate brand, and you can really build your brand. So I say, even if you don't want to sell things or do something, separate your brand. Get your name.com, dawnfitch.com. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of ways to go different places with that. You can do ebooks, you can do speaking, you can do coaching, or you don't have to do anything, but you have the option. And if you decide to sell, if I decide to sell Pooka one day, and I'm no longer Pooka, the Dawn Fitch brand still lives, and she was the former CEO of Pooka. You know what I mean? So you want to always make a separate brand for yourself that you could put on the put on the shelf until you need it, because that's your credibility. So you can use that for anything you want to use it for. So I'm over there now trying to build up my Instagram. And I know for me, I would go more into the wellness space. So speaking, I mean, the entrepreneur space as well, but speaking, things like that, or in the wellness arena.
Yeah, because that's,
I don't know,
that's more personal to you.
Personal. So you have to decide, what is your personal thing? What would you do? Would you speak? What would you want to do? And even if you don't know what that is, still start to develop your personal brand.
Right. And so that's what I tell, my clients too. Like, people don't buy you. I mean, people don't buy your products. They buy you. Because they want to know everything about who is that, what she got going on, who you do. They want to know all this. I mean, the amount of information you share is fine. You don't have to be all up in here and dancing around or this girl, this is what I'm eating today. Like we don't. I mean, unless you want to. But to me, I always say, show those things that are important to you. And not just because you want to get likes or a following on social media. Share those things that's really important to you, that you want people to know about. And so, Dawn, so one of the things, so we talked about your products and starting small and then building that out. How you got into how you got into Whole Foods and how people can get into these big box brands. So do you have any mentors, or have you had any mentors, and what's your take on that?
Oprah. But you know what the funny thing is? Carol's daughter, Lisa Price. The funny thing is, we laugh, but mentorship and success leaves breadcrumbs. And I tell people, go out and get a mentor, and it doesn't have to be somebody you know. If this is somebody that you aspire to be, there is so much like Carol's daughter, Lisa Price. She started Carol's daughter. So she was 22 years ago. She was it, and she still is amazing.
Right.
I maybe met her once, but she's my mentor because I've read every book.
Right.
I'm on her social sites. I go to her YouTube. Success leaves clues.
Yeah.
So if you find somebody who you aspire to be like, go to their LinkedIn, go to all of those things, because they have left a lot of information for you. And then just like you did, write people. Kathy Hughes is the CEO of TB1. And they do a Circle of Sisters in North Carolina every year. That's huge. And I was like, I'm going to write her. I sent her an email and I said, Black woman, this was about 10 years ago. Black woman, started my own company, da da da. She answered me. Just like you said, she answered me. And she became an amazing mentor. I went down to DC. We would come down. She checked on us. She let us speak at the Circle of Sisters in North Carolina. She did so much amazing stuff for her just because we asked. Yeah. You know, but also just the way you said, mentorship is an agreement on both sides. Right. You can't just email somebody and be like, help me. Because I have had people that are just like, look, it was more like that. Look, where did you get this? You got to do some of the work.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And you also have to, like you said, I bought a little Pooka, and I'm not saying you have to buy things, but it's in a people their time. It's a mutual agreement. You help each other out. You know, maybe if you don't buy things, you tell your friend about the company.
Exactly.
But mentorship it's a two-way street. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think you should get a mentor, and don't be limited to, well, who could it be? It can be, like I said, Michelle Obama could be your mentor. She got
Right.
books, she's written
Right.
things, she's got everything. So you really got to engross yourself in all the information that this person has, and you will get a lot of nuggets out of it.
Right. And so when you're saying that, because I guess most people think of mentor, they thinking that it has to be something intimate, but you're saying it could be something, you know, simple as, you know, reading their, you know, what they put out there,
Yeah.
reading them, you know, learning about, you know, what they put out there. And then that way it's mentoring you
Right.
in the area in which you are seeking to receive information.
Because the
Okay.
most thing that you're mentoring, the main things you're asking is, where did you get the stuff from? How did you do it? Like the questions that you ask, they've done an interview about it. They, you know what I mean? Like people have answered the question. So you just gotta go read this stuff. Everything you probably want to know is information. You don't have to wait for them to call you back. You don't have to try to get them to be, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of information out there. We just have to be really good detectives, and we can find a lot of it.
So then what about a business coach then? What is your views
I
on
do
that?
recommend that. Now, see, that's something different. I need
Right.
that. I'm in and out of business coaches, either a business coach or a mastermind group,
Yeah.
where you have a group of like-minded people and you decide, I'm going to meet once or twice a week, and then you each go in what you need. And, you know, that's like a back and forth type of thing. But a business coach is very helpful, especially for me. I suffer from lack of organization. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So they help keep,
Listen.
oh my goodness. And procrastination. They help keep
Yes.
you like that.
I was scrambling today. I was like, I'm up early because I work from home. I'm like, girl, why do you wait for the man? I'm trying to find, where's my outliner? It's sitting right there. So
Look, you know, you
procrastinating.
sent me the thing. I didn't post it to today, and then I posted the wrong thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, is she going to be on here? And then when I got on this morning, I was like, thank you, Jesus. So yeah, I was just telling a friend that I was like, I suffer from, you know, being inconsistent and procrastination. So
But it's
I
really you're doing a lot too.
yeah,
We are doing a lot, you know, and
yeah,
sometimes we
exactly.
do everything, you know, because
Yeah,
stuff slips. So
yeah,
we go, look, I gave us an out. We just do a lot.
yeah. We
That's
just
what it
do
is.
it. All right, so we're gonna get ready to close it out. So let me ask you this. This is what I always ask people. So this one is a little different. So let me ask you this. What is the one piece of advice that you like to give someone who's starting out in this handmade product-based business?
Like I said, get mentorship, don't give up, and find like-minded people. If you're in this business, go to Indie Business. IndieBusiness.com is amazing. They're a trade organization for handmade, whether it's products, cosmetics, candles, just handmade, because we didn't really have a trade organization. They offer classes, they offer insurance. So find whatever your trade organization is and join, because you really need the community, and not the community of salespeople, people buying. You need a community of support.
Right.
So I would say find a mentor, find your trade organization, and just don't give up. Realize it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to, if it's your dream and it's what you want to do, it's going to happen. It's just going to take time.
So said that. Let me ask you this real quick before we close out. So you said this wasn't something that you had a desire to do. It kind of just happened for you based off of your health.
Right.
So I talked a couple of weeks ago and last week about starting a business where you're operating off of faith and you're in alignment. So what do you think about that? So, and I say you may not know that this was your purpose or that you were in alignment, but as you went through it, you know, it started to make sense that this is what you were called to do. So what do you think about that?
I think that
Starting businesses just because you've seen someone else versus starting a business where you are is out of purpose and you're in line with it, aligned with it.
I think you're going to have a different amount of success, you know, when it's something that you're in, and you'll feel differently about it, and it'll probably, you won't give up as quickly. I couldn't understand when I was diagnosed with MS, like, well, you know, why me? Why? I didn't really say it that long, but it's still like, but now when I see the things that God has blessed me through, I was like, had I never gotten sick, I would have never gotten to do any of these things. And I know that Best Life Tribe blesses people, not just they're talking to each other. There's a
Mm-hmm.
prayer group that started in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see things like that happen, and I see things line up where, you know, like Whole Foods, from just going back to Sony, like
Mm-hmm.
talking to this man for 2 years waiting tables, he gave me a store. I'm like, okay, God, when it's
Yeah.
things that you have no control over,
Mm-hmm.
that you know you don't know how it happened and you couldn't have done, then I feel like I'm in the right place. Because you blessed
Mm-hmm.
me with stuff that I didn't, one, know I needed, and two,
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to get on my own. So
Right.
I believe that, and I don't want to, I don't want to discourage people who
Mm-hmm.
are just saying like, oh, well, there's some money in this. I mean, some things you might just do because you need some
Mm-hmm.
money. It's like having a job. Because I
Right.
was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. She's like, well, when you have your job, if you go to a job and you get a good job, is everybody getting a job by what's their purpose? And I was like, probably not. Sometimes you just
Mm-hmm.
need to make money. But
Right.
I sometimes think entrepreneurship, because it's a choice,
Mm-hmm.
is maybe a little more driven by your purpose or what you want to do or what you feel led to do.
Right.
And I feel like if it is God's purpose for you, he will sustain you. And when it's not, he will give you the exit ramp and you'll know when it's time to go.
Yeah. Thank
I
you
think
so
we're in
much,
alignment
Dawn.
though. Look, of all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyone, so if you have any questions for the lovely Dawn, go ahead and put those in the chat. And again, quick, share this really quick. So ask Dawn any questions. She's a powerhouse. She don't mind sharing.
Don't,
She don't
I don't
mind sharing.
mind. Don't mind.
Like I said, for those of you guys who weren't on at the beginning, I met Dawn virtually back in 2011 because I was introduced to her products by a former coworker, and I was just in the process of starting my own color cosmetics and skincare line, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so I, reached out to Dawn, and via email, and I found, went to her website and reached out to her. I did purchase, of course, to be respectful, but I asked her, hey, I still have the email, guys. I went to the email the other day and I still have the email. I was like, let me pull this email up because I wanted to remember when exactly was it, because I was like, how did I meet Dawn? And then it started popping in my head. I was like, oh yeah. So, so it doesn't hurt to ask, but don't just be, coming at people sideways asking information from them, because, then you're not going to get it. But it doesn't hurt to ask.
And if you genuinely,
but also you need to do the work. Like, don't be coming asking me, girl. For instance, when I had my online clothing boutique, I have people, girl, will you get that? Who's your? No, ma'am. I had to do the work to find these vendors. So you're not going to just come to me and say, girl, who did you buy that from? Who was your vendor? No. You're going to have to put in the work just like I did. Now, if you ask me, some advice on what's the best way to sell or how to price, things like that, I don't mind sharing you that. But I'm not going to just give you like, oh, girl, this is my vendor. No. So,
it just doesn't work like that.
Right. So be mindful when you're approaching people on the information that you're asking from them, and also do your homework, do your research before you just want to come to people. Nobody wants to work anymore. You know what I'm saying? They just want it instantly.
If you're gonna ask somebody, research them first, because you might find the answer before you even have to email them. That's what I'm saying. Research them. I look on their social sites. I look on Instagram. I do a Google search for them and read any kind of blog posts or a podcast. You're probably gonna find out the information you need to know right there.
So before we close out, Dawn, how do you want to close this out? What do you want to say to the people before we close things out?
I just want to tell everybody, I know it's probably a lot of women on here, do not give up hope. We are powerful, and there is a lot of money to be made. And there's a lot of people that you can affect. You know what I mean? You getting into a business is not just for you. You know what I mean? You are probably going to bless somebody, give somebody something that they need. So don't be afraid. Reach out, get the help. If it's on your spirit, pray on it and take that leap, because we need you. We need you.
Right. Yeah. So Trinity, can you put Dawn's
Thanks, Dania.
social media down in there? So guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm not sure if we went over our time or not, but it's been a long time since Dawn and I had a chance to catch up. And you know what? I said that 2023, let me say this really quick. Guys, let's make this a plan. I know this has been for me, because I've been hearing this and seeing this lately is about purpose. 2023 is about purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for you guys to start working in your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
getting being aligned with what it is that you're supposed to do in this life. Because you know we're not here long.
Yeah.
So why waste time? Why not do what it is that you are called here to do? So for me, 2023 is purpose.
Purpose.
It's
I'm
all
with
about
you.
purpose.
Purpose. Yes.
Purpose.
There
Give me a first
you
round.
go. There you go.
Purpose.
Purpose. Oh,
And
I
so
like
one
that.
of those things I want to do, I definitely want to actually get a chance to see you in person.
Yes.
And you know, I don't know, you get up too early for them hikes. I was like, whoa, you.
Girl, them hikes will change your life. It'll change your life. Look, I'll like, is that Tona at 6 a.m. on here? Yep.
And I looked at, I was like, oh, she up early. I was like, she sent this like 2 hours ago.
Look, that's not every day, because there are many days I'm right on this couch. So,
okay.
But I enjoy
So thank you again so much, Dawn. You are such a beautiful person inside and out. And so, guys, be sure to go check Dawn out over on Pooka Leader on IG. Her website is, tell us your website, Dawn.
It's long because it was a 20-year-old website. PookaPureandSimple.com. So check us out. We got a lot of holiday stuff going on. So come on over there.
Y'all go over there. And let me tell you, she has some good products. And it's made, and guess what? She is a sister who has her own manufacturer over in New Jersey. So she does everything in-house. So you guys, when you support her, you are supporting a community. Okay? So be sure to go and check her out. Even if you got, you know, you are a handmade business yourself,
please do.
We can still all support one another. There may be something about hers that, you know, can improve your process and things, so we can all grow and learn from one another. Thank you guys again for joining. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at noon for our next guest. Again, this is I'm Tony Michelle. We do these lives every Thursday at noon, talking everything business and lifestyle. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope we Dawn dropped some gems for you guys to use in your businesses. And be sure to follow us over here at October Moon Branding. And again, over at for Dawn, I am Dawn Fitch, right?
No, Dawn Fitch Official.
Oh, Dawn Fitch Official and Pooka Leader. So thank you guys again. Be sure to follow us and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now. Bye, Dawn. I'll talk to you.
All right.
Bye-bye.